hate princess books. Because my opinion is their dresses look weird on them, and I hate that. I hate it. Hate it, hate it, hate it. And this book is 100 pages. Wow. And I'm going to be reading it. Mommy, this is 100 pages. Wait, this is not the first page. Once upon a time, there was a gentleman who lived in France with his young daughter. He wanted to find a stepmother for his daughter and was delighted when he met a beautiful woman with 2 daughters of her own.
Fia?
Sadly, yeah?
Can you please put the recorder down?
Seriously? I am. It's just boring. Sadly, soon after the marriage, the father died, leaving the young girl alone with her new stepfamily. And yeah, the stepmother and her daughter were beautiful, but they were not kind. They cared only about how they looked and how much money they had. They forced the young girl to do all the cooking and cleaning. They stole her clothes and forced her to wear rags. They took her bedroom, leaving her to sleep on the floor next to the fireplace. She would wake up covered in the black cinders left by the burning logs. They laughed and called her Cinderella. One day, the king declared that it was time for his son, the prince, to get married. He invited the eligible, blah blah woman in the kingdom to get married. He invited the eligible blah woman in the kingdom to a ball. So the prince would choose one to be his wife. The 2 stepsisters were so excited that they talked about nothing but the dresses and shoes for weeks. Cinderella asked if she could go too, but her stepmother laughed. You at a ball? How embarrassing for everyone, especially you. After the stepsisters and the stepmother left for the ball, Cinderella sat by the fireplace and cried as her tears dropped into the ashes. A fairy magically appeared. Do you wish you could go to the ball? The fairy asked. Cinderella nodded. I will help you. Run into the garden and bring me a pumpkin. And Cinderella, the fairy, a pumpkin. The fairy, what in the world? When Cinderella bought the fairy a pumpkin, the fairy waved her wand and the pumpkin became a carriage. What in the world? Now I need a few animals. The fairy said, yeah?
Can you be quiet for a while? Just a second.
Okay, 1 second. We are going to be waiting here. Oh, come on. His arms are still broken, so I have to... He can move a little. See? He can move a little, but then soon he will not be able to move. So you have to move him. See? Muscle. not even hanging. See, he's just floating. And the table is literally not there. You're floating. Why would you think do, 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 do. Isn't the call done?
Oh, yeah.
You should have told me. Now I need a few animals, the fairy said. Cinderella went back to the garden and found the fairy, 4 mice, and a rat. The fairy gave each a tap with her wand. The mice turned into beautiful horses. The rat turned into a coachman to drive the coach now. Now, said the fairy, for you, Cinderella. Oh, everything is fake. Even magicians, they don't tell you that they have fake magic tricks. Because magicians never reveal their secrets. But it's fake. Because when the human runs over a car, the reveal is that the car wheel is fluffy. So yeah. Oh, my bike. What in the world did I say? My back. The fairy tapped Cinderella with her wand, and in an instant, her rags became a beautiful silk, dancing dress. She tapped Cinderella's feet, and a pair of glass slippers appeared. Glass slippers? What in the world are they doing to children? Because it's fake. Ha ha ha. Now off to the ball with you, Cinderella. But the fairy warned, at midnight the magic will stop working. If you stay 1 minute longer, you will be left with rags, a pumpkin, and mice running around your feet. Cinderella promised the fairy she would leave the ball before midnight, and she went up. She went at the ballroom. At the palace, the ballroom was filled with Gusta, Gusta, Gusta. I never recall. Seriously. Okay, from all over the kingdom. When Cinderella walked in, everyone stopped dancing. The musicians stopped playing. They were all looking at her. They were whispers heard around the room saying how beautiful she is, and who is that woman? She must be a princess. The prince asked her to dance with him. Cinderella danced so gracefully that the prince did not want to dance with anyone else. Wallowing his arms around Cinderella forgot all about the time. Suddenly the clocks began to strike midnight. Cinderella remembered the fairy godmother's warning. She ran out of the castle. As she ran, she left behind one of her glass slippers, The prince followed her, but Cinderella was too fast. The prince was left holding the glass slippers and wondering who the mystery woman might be. The prince told the king he was in love with the mystery woman. He declared that he would marry no one but her to find her. He would ask every woman in the kingdom to try the glass slipper. When Cinderella got home, she was out of breath, and in her old rags, nothing was left but one of the little slippers. She heard the door slam when her stepsisters and the stepmother returned from the ball. That horrible woman took the prince's attention away from all of his other guests. The whole time, how rude, whined the younger stepsister. Oy, oy, oy. What did he even see in her anyway? How did the older stepsister? She wasn't that pretty. Hush, shouted their mother. You both should have tried harder to get the prince's attention. I'm ashamed of you both. Without even looking at Cinderella, the three of them stormed off to bed, bickering as they went. The prince and his messengers spent the next few days visiting every home in the kingdom. Hundreds of women tried on the shoe, but it did not fit a single one. When the prince arrived at Cinderella's house, the stepsisters tried on the slipper. It did not fit. Just as the prince was turning to leave, Cinderella asked if she could try. The stepsisters and the stepmother laughed, but when Cinderella slipped her foot into the magic slippers, rags turned back into a beautiful gown. The prince knew this woman was from the ball. A few days later, they were married and they lived happily ever after. Pearls. Cinderella takes place in France in the late 1600s. At that time, the country was split between rich people called nobles and poor servants and farmers called peasants. I knew that. You're a peasant. These groups were very different clothing. Peasants wore lots of brown and gray clothing made from sheep's wool. Nobles wore expensive clothes in bright colors like blue, red, and purple. Cinderella was a peasant. Cinderella's peasant clothes turned into a beautiful gown made of a fabric called silk, which only the richest people could buy. Charles Perrault was a French writer who lived in the 1600s. He wrote stories that were based on folk tales from many cultures and countries. Some of his most popular stories were the tales of Mother Goose, Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella, and the Sleeping Beauty. Okay, well, I'm not going to read the other stories because it's 100 pages, so subscribe, hit the notification bell, and give us a big thumbs up.